Mark must still be on a bit of a high after Sunday. It's great to head into another weekend on the back of a win and a squad full of confidence, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, it's the great bit is we get to head into a week with a game at the end of it, which is exciting, and obviously that game is one of huge significance. Quarterfinal in Europe, they don't come around very often, and we were just excited to be in the competition and getting the opportunity to speak to you guys, because we could be just training, preparing for another URC game in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, so it's a proper game, and having played so well on Sunday, is it a different test altogether against the French side? Do you have to improve further, do you think, to try and beat them?
Look, I think firstly we did play pretty well. I think we played to a very high level. I thought our accuracy was massively improved in the first 50 minutes of the game, both sides of the ball, and obviously I think the scoreboard reflected that improvement in the accuracy and actually the quality of what we played with. But we will need to improve this week, because you're playing against a side that you know a little bit less about. They've got different strengths. They're going to challenge you in a different way, and we'll need to be very accurate, having less time to prepare for them and know a lot less about them. So it's exciting, but yes, we do need to improve, to answer your question.
Yeah, and of the bits that you have seen of them, what are their strengths and where might they go at you?
Yeah, very dynamic team. A lot of athletic players that can create line break opportunities. Lots of offload threats. They're a threat around the ruck area with guys picking through the middle of the ruck, etc. So they've also got a pretty long kicking game, able to force you back, and I think they're a side that's playing with a bit of confidence, scoring quite a few points, and sitting in a good position in a very, very tough competition. So we're very respectful. They're playing well in both competitions, Europe and top 14. So yeah. Very, very good opposition. And
another one in the sunshine, hopefully, on the weekend. The weather's on the turn. It's great for the type of rugby you enjoy coaching, I'm sure.
Yeah, look, the weather was fantastic, and the stadium there, filled like it was with 9,000-10,000 in that sort of weather. It was a good atmosphere. Great to see sun on the players' backs, and whilst we want to play a flowing multi-phase game, I thought that we were pretty devastated in the first three phases, from set piece and from kick counter reset on the weekend. So whilst we want to play lots of phases and high ball in play and all that, we want to score quickly and fast. We don't want to have to burn lots of fuel to score. So what I thought was we had a good mix to our game last week, and whilst the weather's improving, we certainly don't want to play more rugby than we need to. But it's great to know that if we need to go multi-phase, we can.
And the players that did so well, I guess you want, for the vast majority, you want to keep faith in them. Any knocks or niggles? Any doubts?
Yeah, there's a few bumps and bruises around. We've got a few players that we know have been out injured, and some are returning from injury. And we're still assessing that at the moment. We're only sort of playing Sunday. We're still only sort of minus 48 hours back in. So we're assessing the squad. We've got an outline squad that we've named, but we'll confirm selection a little bit later in the week, I think, just to make sure we give everybody a chance to be fit and healthy and are ready for what will be a very physical game.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Good to speak to you again.
Mark, what was the big difference between the two weekends against the Scouts?
I think energy and accuracy. I think we looked an energised team. It looked like a team that had fresh bodies back in it. It looked like a team that had players that were, reasonably low on minutes based over a 2 or 3 week period. And also we had enough continuity in there to bind in those new players with the ones that have been playing particularly well over the last couple of weeks as well. And then I just think our accuracy around our discipline, around our set piece, around our line breaks converted. I thought that those were the 2 or 3 things that were absolutely front of house in the difference in the performances.
I was going to use 2 other adjectives, edge and desire.
Yeah, and I think, what do you get desire from? You probably get it from losing the week before, no doubt about that. You get desire from maybe missing out on the game the week before and be given an opportunity to come back into the team and prove, why you should be playing. And I think, the desire comes from the carrot at the end of it, doesn't it? If you don't get the result in that game, there is no next round. So I think those things were all, definitely in the mixing pot, and as you said, they added to our performance.
Yeah. We spoke to Gareth Thomas in the build-up to it, and we were talking about a chance to get revenge for last weekend. But this is also now a chance to maybe rectify the wrongs of last year against Gloucester, where you went to Kingsholm, did so well, but then fell off it in the end. I mean, will there be any reference to last year's quarter-final or not?
No, there won't be. I think usually revenge comes from a loss, doesn't it? Because it shows that the previous performance wasn't of a level that you're satisfied with. I think if we want to be the team and the region that we want to be, we have to be used to winning and then winning again and then winning again. We can't rely on revenge to motivate us. And I'm not saying that was the motivator in the last game. I don't believe it was. I think it was the opportunity to go one step deeper in the competition, if I'm honest with you. I think that was the big driver, and that's the same driver this week. So revenge isn't what's driving us, in the same notion that the Gloucester performance is not really going to be mentioned in this week's preparation. That was a moment in time that we've learned a lot from that. We've reviewed that game at the time, and we learned some things as a coaching group and a playing group, and we will reference those things. But in terms of losing that last quarter-final game, that's not going to have any bearing around our mindset this week.
So do you think you're good enough to go to the next stage? And then if you get to the next stage, are you good enough to go even further?
I think we've got to play well enough, Rob. I think if we play well enough, and what I mean by that is we play to our capability, then we're good enough to win a game at home against a good side, because we've shown that we can. We've got a good record at the Swansea.com. When we play well, which we usually do at home, we are a difficult team to beat. Are we beatable? Yeah, of course we are. Scarlett showed that, just over a week ago. So for me, the focus is around our performance, reaching the same level and going up a bit, particularly for the full 80 minutes. I feel that's where we can take a step forward this week, is to go better for longer.
Yeah. Two players in particular in my mind stood out last weekend. Obviously, man of the match, Dan Edwards. You seem to have put him back together again, and he doesn't seem to have dropped his standards in any way from the kick in the teeth he got in the Welsh camp, and he's playing at the level now that they have to consider for Japan, I thought.
Yeah, I think any players that are playing, in knockout rugby, whether that's in Europe this weekend or into the latter stages of the URC rounds, into knockouts of URC, if you're playing in a team that's fighting for those spots and you're playing well and you're Welsh, you should be trying to get on that aeroplane to Japan. Should be. That should be your mentality and your motivation. I know with Dan, his motivation is to get the best out of himself, and he knows if he plays well himself, the rewards of selection for our team, and then obviously hopefully Wales, in his perspective moving forward, become genuine. And hopefully Dan's reflected on his time in the Six Nations as an opportunity where, okay, he didn't play as much as he would have liked, but actually it's just a moment in time. What he's learned from it is, when you come back to regional rugby, you have to perform, and he did it during the Six Nations for Leinster and for Glasgow, and he did it, at the latter end of the Six Nations going into our fixtures. He, as you say, he looks like a guy that's not been downtrodden from the lack of opportunity, and he's used it as a motivator to improve his game and become, take out the ambiguity and actually go, I'm the best, select me.
Yeah, and the other one I thought was Rhys Davis. I mean, he gave a fantastic all-round power performance last week.
Yeah, he did. Both sides of the ball, in the set piece and in the loose, he was the full package. And I think I talked around it after the game when he was stood next to me. He's put a lot of work into that performance. That performance didn't just happen. We know he's capable of that performance, but to do it against the opposition that he did, two very, very good lock forwards there in Lousy and Alex Craig the week before, but obviously it was Jack Price this week to deliver that, and then with Alex Craig coming on against that level of international lock, and to be as dominant as he was in the physical aspects of the game, he should take a lot of plaudits for that. his challenge this week is if he's selected in the 23, he's got to back it up, hasn't he? Because the expectation is there. And you know, one thing you know about French teams is their lock forwards are not bad, are they? Whichever French team you play against, and they're big and they're strong and they're powerful. So that'll be a good measure for him, I think, and a good challenge should he be selected this week.
I think Poker is about 6'9", isn't he? And enormous, but it'll take that to stop with this. Look, we really enjoyed last weekend, so thank you for giving us a game for this week.
Well, thank you very much for the compliment, and the players will be, they'll be trying to do the same again, Rob. I'm sure for everybody that's in the stadium and everybody watching at home.
Great, thanks, Rob.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
Hi, Mark. Congratulations, first of all.
How are you, Dan? Okay?
Yeah, good, thank you. Just following on from what Rob said there, on the vein of standout performers, how good has Dan Cassende been this season? I mean, some player.
Yeah, he's been great. Obviously, we saw a little bit of him last year as well, and he played well last year actually. But you can see he looks like a player that's been around the group a bit longer, had more time with the group. He's settled in. He's got his sort of. He feels comfortable now with the players around him, the staff, the way we work. So he and Avadi have been brilliant. Firstly, as blokes coming in, you know, buying into a new culture, living in a different country, the way they've settled in with their families has been class. And I think the boys have really taken to them. They're very different guys. You know, you can see, you know, Avadi just goes about his work. He's a workhorse. You know, very consistent around his defence, his attack. You know, runs all day. And then you've got the postman then, who's a bit more eccentric. You know, got the white scrum cap, celebrating with the crowd. You know, just love the way that they are. Very different, but I love the way they are. And go back to Dan in particular. You know, his ability around his all-round game has been class, you know, around his aerial game, his defensive game, his finishing, creating tries for other people. He's been great, as of all our outside backs actually, all season. They've been there's some very competitive area for us.
You guys just touched on the physicality for a brief point there. Obviously top 14 sides are known for that. How do you I guess, change your approach compared to maybe last weekend with the side with that much physicality? Yeah,
look, it'd be pretty silly, I think, if I sat here and basically sent out 3 or 4 days before the game how we're going to approach stopping Lyon or trying to break them down. But we know there's certain strengths of their game that we're going to need to respect and prepare for. Like they'll be doing for us, I presume. And also we've got DNA in our team that actually doesn't matter who's opposite us, that's who we are, and we're going to back it. So clearly we'll make sure we'll always make sure there's a balance to that, as we've done in the 2 Scarlets games. But we need to, in a short week, we need to make sure that we focus on ourselves primarily, but also we need to respect threats and some opportunities that there'll be against Lyon, hopefully.
Thank you very much. And just one last one from me. So Derry Lake, a player coming back for his first start in a while. What's it like for you having a player of his calibre at your disposal again?
Oh, we're very lucky. We've got a lot of players that are, you know, I don't want to say household names, but players that are very familiar, and actually you can associate their game with them. And one thing you associate with Derry is he's very, very uncompromising around the physical side of the game, isn't he? And he certainly didn't disappoint from a ball carrying point of view or a set piece point of view last weekend. So to bring him back into the environment with Sam Parry around and George McGuigan and young Lou Lloyd, who's coming back from injury, to have a player like that to come back in, you know, a little bit, you know, hungry, because obviously he's missed a bit of rugby through his injury. He's really added some variety to our game, but also he's added good energy as well, because he's dead keen to get stuck into some rugby. So yeah, it's been great to have him back around, and yeah, you know, he'll be in and around our selection thoughts this week, and I'm sure he'll play a pivotal role again.
Thanks very much, Mark. All the best for the weekend.
Thank you.
Can I ask one last question? How is Owen Watkin?
He is doing very well. He's walking around, you know, barely without a limp, which is quite good progress for somebody that's had his ACL done. He's pretty excited about, you know, stepping up his level of training intensity in his rehab. But obviously there's a process there that he has to go through. So he's in very good fettle around his emotional state, and he's working pretty hard. And I've actually got a little project ready for him for next week around Cardiff. So I'm going to keep him busy next week around some work defensively for us around Cardiff.
Because he's been through this process before, isn't it? In an early age in his career. I mean, he was out for over a year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he has, and he's dealt with it very well in the past. And a player of his experience, he doesn't always get the plaudits around his game. He's a very consistent player. His defensive work and his defensive agility is brilliant. Around reading shapes in those wide channels, where actually it's the hardest place on the pitch to defend. And that's his point of difference, and he is actually a very skillful player. When you can get him in this key decision-making role, particularly on edges, he makes good decisions. So he's a player that's helping the younger players in the group get better in those areas. And obviously, when he comes back to play for us, he's going to add as well into our variety of mix that we've got in that 13 channel.
Any time scale, Mark?
We know he's going to be next season. We know he's going to be next season, but I think the time scale at the moment is open-ended around when. Because of the nature of how the injury will go over the next couple of months, but he's definitely going to be next season, I think, on the last discussion that we've had and based on when he got injured.
Well, he recovered well enough after the last time to get 49 caps, so there's no reason why he can't get the next 49. Now,
God willing, and with a bit of luck, he should be back, as good as, if not better than before. So that'll be awesome for himself and for us as a group, and obviously the Osprey fans.